Hello, my name is Federico Sismondi. I work for the f-interop project. As you may know, f-interop is an online platform for testing remote interoperability tests between protocol implementations. And this video I'm going to be demonstrating how to run remote interop tests between two users using the platform, okay? If you have any feedback or questions about what I'm gonna show right now, you can drop me an email to the email there above, federico.sismondi@inre.fr. So most of the CoAP interop use cases are documented online. You can access it using this URL. The use case I'll be demonstrating today is the CoAP user-to-user interop test, which is described by this image here. So user A running his implementation, his or her implementation, in this case CoAP client. User B running his or her implementation, in this case a CoAP server. They can be connected from very remote locations, for example France and China. And the whole f-interop platform and the tooling will provide them with a user interface, a graphical user interface, which is the web GUI accessed through go.f-interop.eu, and also a VPN-like setup so that their implementations are in the same network. For this demonstration, I will be emulating both users, so I'll be having two f-interop accounts, and I will be running two different implementations from two different environments. Okay, one is my machine, and the other one is a virtual machine. So let's get started. As I said before, we're going to be demonstrating a user-to-user remote interop test using the f-interop platform. But for this demonstration, I'm going to be playing the role of both users. Okay, so I have prepared two environments and have created two f-interop accounts, and I'm going to be emulating this user-to-user session. So in environment number one here, I'm connected with an email number one. From here, I'm going to be running my CoAP client implementation. For this demonstration, I have chosen to be CoAP plugin for Firefox. And then in environment number two here, in a virtual machine, in an Ubuntu virtual machine, I'll be connecting with a second account, and I'll be running a CoAP server implementation, which I have chosen to be California, right? So how this goes is one of the users needs to create a new test session and then share it with the second user so that they can both connect to the same, let's say, virtual room and start executing interoperability tests. So I'm going to click in new test session. Then the list, I'm going to click in CoAP test suite user to user. Right, go next. Need to fill in some information about my implementation or device. I have already predefined some, and I'm just going to use one of these. If you haven't done so, you can click here and add device button and fill in this form. And then I need to say which test cases I want to execute. By default, if you leave this empty, you will be executing all the test cases predefined by the testing tool. For this demonstration, I will be just executing the first three. So these URLs there, you can access them with a web browser. Tests there, and they describe the whole test procedure. Okay, so make sure you read this before starting to run the interoperability test cases. So I click on save configuration and I click on start, and in a few minutes or seconds the session will be deployed and everything will be ready to start running our interoperability tests. Great, so the session has been deployed. All I need to do to share my session with another user is to click on the blue button and copy the URL and send it to him. Okay. So this is number two accessing the same session. Great. So now both users are connected to the session. Okay. So the session owner, the one that created, has to answer some questions like which user is running which implementation. So I'm going to say me in environment number one, I'm running a CoAP client. And then the testing tool, the platform, starts giving us some information about the setup. Okay. So normally you should read this, click on confirm. The same for user 2. Now user 1, environment 1, you need to export an environmental variable so that to establish the VPN like mechanism between the two environments. Okay, so I'm just going to open a terminal here and export this environmental variable. I'm going to say okay, I did it. User 2 needs to do the exact same thing. So I copy this environmental variable and I export it into a terminal and I confirm. So now we have to go through a procedure of installing the agent component, which is the one in charge of handling this tunneling mechanism, this VPN between the two environments, right? I have already installed this, so I don't need to execute this. I'll just skip this step. User 2, I believe, has it too. Yep, test agent. Yeah. So this environment has already pre-installed this too, so I will confirm this step. And then we need to execute the commands for setting up again the VPN. So I will be playing the role in environment 1. I'll play the role of a CoAP client. So I will copy this URL here, the first one that mentions the CoAP client, and I'm gonna run it into my machine. We're running things as a super user because we need to create a virtual interface into the machine and modify a little bit the routing tables. If you want to check out the source code, you're invited to do so. You have the link somewhere here in the graphical user interface. So the agent has been connected. I'm going to do the same thing with the CoAP server. I'm going to run the agent component into the environment number 2. So I paste, and agent has been created and the tunnel has been set up. So I will confirm that I did this, that user 1 did this, and user 2 already did this too, so he will confirm too. And now we have some testing phase, let's say. Okay, so here you have some information on what you should be expecting in your terminal. So in the log lines, you have some information about the virtual interface that has been created, a route that has been added into your routing table, but more importantly, some tests that you can do to validate the setup. Okay, basically you need to verify that you have an interface called tun0 created with a BBB1 IP, IPv6 IP, or BBB2, depending if you're running the CoAP client or the CoAP server. And also it says that you can ping their implementation already through the tunneling or VPN mechanism. So you can run a ping 6. Let's make this a little bit bigger. So we can run a ping 6 BBB2, for example, and the other implementation, the other environment is pinging back, is replying. Okay, so the VPN is in place. I will confirm here. Normally user 2 should run the same test, but well, this is not necessary. And the test suite has started. In there we're seeing all the dissections of all the messages that have been exchanged until now, which have been nothing but pings and ping replies. And well, the graphical user interface is giving us the option of starting already the test case number 1. Okay, so for filtering information using this graphical user interface, which is very handy, you can click in here in the timeline in one of the tags there, and you will see only the messages related with the test case 01, or for example the packets exchanged through the test case 01. Okay, so here a graphical user interface asking me, do I want to start the test case number 1? So the first thing I should do is read all the information here about what the CoAP client is expected to do, what are the preconditions, let's say, for that test case, and also for user number 2, which runs the CoAP server, right? So CoAP 2, user 2, sorry, needs to put the server running into the standard port, and has to provide the resource test, which can handle a get transaction convert. Okay, so I already have predefined a CoAP server that is able to handle all the test cases. Okay, so I recommend you to do the same if you're running interop test and you're interested in testing correctly the interoperability of your implementation against others. So you should go through the official test specification, go through it all, and predefine all the resources and all the methods that these resources need to allow, let's say. So in here we have the CoAP server California. Let's run it with of course the IP BBB2, okay, the standard port and standard UDP port. And now my the CoAP Californium server is listening to that IP. So user 1 can start running the test case. So as you have seen, the graphical user interface gives you some provides the messages for coordinating the interop event, but this is not more needs to be provided, right? So there needs to be a chat communication between the users to say, hey, I did execute this, we're ready to go, or wait 5 minutes because I have a problem with this. So until now we were telling users just to use Skype, email, or some other messaging mechanism, but in the following months f-interop will also be supporting a let's say room graphical user interface where you can chat with all the people that are connected in f-interop, so that you can exchange this type of peer-to-peer message. Say, hey, wait a minute, I need to set something up, don't click on start, and well, so on. So everything is ready here, so I will click on start test case number 1, and the GUI is asking me, user 1, confirm that you have executed the step number 1. So I have not, so I'm going to check what the step number 1 is, and it says well, you have to send client is requested to send a GET request with type 0 code 1 to this IP, okay, resource test, which is not mentioned but should be. So I'm going to open here, as I said before, CoAP and check. And I'm going to execute the test, okay, the stimulation, sorry. So I'm going to go to the resource test. Oops. And send a get with type 0. Okay, this is good. So I send a get, and you can see my request has been sent and a reply has been received. You can verify this using the f-interop tools. You can click here in packet, for example, and you will see the dissection of the messages. Okay, so this is the last message, the response from the server to the client, and here, yeah, you have all the dissection of the CoAP headers. Okay, options, and so on, and payload. Okay. Here you have the request, source address BBB1, destination BBB2. So this was the first message, right? Like the CoAP request, and the section from the CoAP headers. Okay, so this gives you a Wireshark-like view of the exchanges between the two CoAP implementations. So okay, I have already executed this stimulation, so I will click here, stimulate executed, confirm. Now GUI is asking me, please verify this this information. Client displays the received information. This we have already verified it using this graphical user interface there. We have the information of the payload there. So I'm going to say OK. And then f-interop will process the exchanges and gives us a verdict. Okay, so here, for example, you'll see verdict. Oops, let's go to test case number 1 again. So verdict passed, no interoperability error was detected, and you have basically what the analyzer of the testing tool has verified. Okay, has verified that it matched the unexpected template. Okay, a CoAP with a type 0 code 1, and also that there's been a response from the server to the client with a content and with an option content format. Okay, so if you want to, if something went wrong, you can restart the test case by clicking this button, or you can go and advance to a second test case. Okay, so I'm gonna click OK, test case 2 start. This is going to be a delete transaction using con mode also. So I'm gonna say start. Go is telling me now please verify that you have executed simulation. Okay, for this simulation is delete request, well, type 0 code 0 code 4. So through all this all the test case number 1 and 2, I have not shown the environment number 2. Okay, why is this? Well, basically the CoAP server doesn't need to do anything here. There was no there's no special stimulation. The CoAP server just has to be listened and start answering to the requests sent by the client, right? So that's why the CoAP server for this purpose is let's say passive, right? It's just launch it with the right configuration, and then it's ready to launch all the test cases, most of them. Okay. So I'm gonna click here. Well, I'm gonna execute the delete as requested. Also to resource test, I'm gonna send delete. Got a response already. You can see also again the packets in here, the dissection of the packets in here. If you keep going below, you even have the binary representation of those. And I'm gonna say I already executed the delete. Yes, I received an answer and was displayed. And the exchanges were analyzed, and we were issued also a pass verdict. Okay, so again, some verifications were made on the exchanges between my CoAP client and the CoAP server. Okay, if you want to know a little bit more about how we're doing these verifications, don't hesitate to drop me an email. So last test case, this is a put transaction, also con mode. Again, same resource. So make sure CoAP server needs to make sure about these kind of things, right? Make sure that the resource test accepts the creation of a resource on test and can handle that it can handle the put, right? So this has already been pre-processed, and the resources for the Californian server already can handle this on the resource test. That's why I'm not making any special configuration of the device of the implementation along we are testing this. Okay, so I'll just send a put. I'll just send a put. The response back again. I'm gonna say, oops, I didn't start the test case. So I'm gonna start the test case first. I'm gonna send now a put. Know that if you by accident executed twice the test case or 3 times, it's not a problem. Okay, the analyzer should know how to handle these situations. So for this step is the environment 2, is the user 2 that needs to verify actually that the server displays the received information. Okay, so for this you should check here the logs of your implementation, verify this information, and then say okay or not okay, and you send it back to the tooling running in the background. And now Go is asking CoAP client user the same information. Did client display the received response? I say yes. And the verdict is a fail. Why? what it happens that the testing tool, the analyzer, is expecting the analyzer is expecting a CoAP option, a content format on the is expecting a content format the request, and that has not been sent, and that's why I was issued with a fail. Okay, you have some information there. Okay, mismatch. Well, this is not very user friendly, but basically says that the CoAP message needed to include an option which is a CoAP option content format, and that's why I got issued a fail. Okay, this was not expected, but it's good for the demonstration purposes that it actually works. So the test case has ended with a failed verdict. Then I can come here to the report. As you remember, I have only configured 3 test cases. So the 3 test cases have been finished, and hence the test suite has finished. Okay, so in here at the end of the timeline, I get a report about everything has been executed, and here I get detailed information about the whole execution. Okay, so in the following release, I expect to be the following weeks, you will also be able to download all this information. Okay, all the logs of the execution, and especially the dumps of the traces of the pickup files of each test case, so that you can keep them and analyze them with some other tooling if you want to, and well, keep track of the interop test you have been running, right? So this is all. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to send me an email here. If you have some feedback, that's super welcome too. And well, I hope you enjoyed, and keep tuned for more news on f-interop tooling.